guys, it's V from Motherhood with Me over on Instagram, and welcome to today's vlog. It's a really exciting one because it is my ultimate wedding planning checklist. For those of you who don't know, I am a motherhood vlogger, but I did get engaged last year and I've started seriously planning my wedding this year. I'm getting married in approximately a year and a half next summer. So I've started a wedding series where I'm vlogging my wedding planning journey, and I thought, why would I not do you an ultimate wedding planning checklist? I have spent so much time cross-referencing all of the different checklists on all of the different wedding planning websites, and I've found that almost the hardest place to start when wedding planning is knowing where to start. So in this vlog, I've compiled the ultimate wedding planning checklist. It includes absolutely everything you could think of, every aspect of planning your wedding. I've decided to do this checklist split into themes rather than a timescale. A lot of the wedding planning checklists I looked at were done by a timescale, but I don't think that's particularly helpful because we're all on different timescales. So instead, I split them into categories such as stationery, venue, music, all of those different things. So that's enough chit chat, let's just get straight into the ultimate checklist. I am just going to go through this as a checklist, so it is very much a list of things you need to think about. I'm not going to talk about anything in detail, but if you are interested in more information about different aspects of wedding planning, do follow me because I am sharing all of my different wedding planning tasks as I'm doing them. And I'm also filming my monthly wedding planning journey and posting it each month so you can see what I'm doing in the lead up to my wedding. Let's get started. Here is my ultimate wedding planning checklist. Okay guys, the very first thing on my checklist, the very first category is, first things first, the essentials. Basically this category is items that you need to think about before you even start planning your wedding. So the first one is the vibe. Do you have a season in mind, a location? Is it going to be UK or abroad? Is it going to be in the countryside? Is it going to be by the sea? Do you have colours in mind? Do you want a castle that's very fairy tale, or do you want something very boho? Do you want something whimsical? Do you have a theme in mind? So the vibe is absolutely the number one thing you need to think about in your essentials category. The second thing in your essentials category is the date. And by this, I mean a date range. So you need to think about when it's actually going to be practical for you to get married. That could be 6 months' time, it could be 3 years' time. So think about the time frame of when you want to get married and then narrow it down into a time period such as 3 years' time, summertime. The next, and arguably the absolute most important thing that you need to think about is your budget. You absolutely can't start planning anything until you've assigned a budget, both overall and for each individual thing that you're going to spend, to make sure that that's not going to add up to over your overall budget. It can be really difficult to budget if you don't know what things cost. So do your best to do research online and guesstimate what you're going to spend based on quotes you can find, or even better, what you're prepared to pay for each thing. Your budget is going to be the basis of all of your decisions. It's gonna literally dictate everything about your wedding. So I can't stress enough how important this is in the essentials category. The next item is your guest list. So you really can't start making any decisions until you've done a rough guest list and worked out the numbers that you're looking at. So then when you go to view venues and when you're looking at packages, you're gonna know the numbers that you need to be able to cater for. The next thing is a really exciting one. It is venue. So by this, you need to start thinking about the type of venue you would like. Is it going to be rustic? Is it going to be grand? Are we talking stately homes and castles? Are we talking about a barn or teepees or farms? What is the vibe of the venue that you're looking for? And are you looking for a venue that does everything in one? Or are you interested in having a church or a civil ceremony and then a reception venue? If you decide on a registry office or a church, obviously you'll need to have a look at which registry office or which church you would like and all the requirements that come with getting married in one of those places. The next item in the essentials category is creating a vision board. Now, this obviously isn't absolutely essential, but I would highly recommend it because it's really, really helpful to visualize your day if you start putting together all of the different aspects on something visual. It also helps when you're looking for suppliers and talking to them about the different things, if you've got images ready of what you're looking for. The next essential item is wedding insurance. This is a really important one because if you're spending a few thousand on something, you really want to make sure it's insured. For example, if your photographer doesn't show up, or the photos get damaged, or the videos get lost, or the cars break down, you want to make sure all of those things are covered that you've already paid for. The things to keep in mind is that wedding insurance won't cover you if you call off the wedding. And there's also a lot of restrictions in place with things like global pandemics now, thanks to COVID. The final item in my essentials category of my checklist is researching wedding fairs and open days. These are absolutely fantastic ways to meet suppliers, to get ideas for things that you might like, and to really see venues in action, dressed with, people around, with music, with a vibe. They're so helpful when you're planning a wedding. So I would 100% get shortlisting some wedding fairs and open days for you to go to. The next category on my ultimate checklist is people and roles in your wedding. So you need to start thinking about all of the different people who are going to be involved in your wedding. This starts with the obvious, such as your bridesmaids, your maid of honour, the best man, any ushers, page boys, flower girls, all of those different categories. But you also need to think about things like, do you want to be walked down the aisle, and who is going to do that? Who's going to be your witnesses for signing your marriage certificate? Who's going to speak and give a reading at your wedding? Who's going to give the speeches? Are you going to stick to traditions, or are you going to maybe have a maid of honour do a speech as well as the best man? Do you have any pets, and would you like them to be involved? Also have a think about all of the people that you're inviting to the wedding who might have a skill that could come in handy and wouldn't mind doing you a favour. I'm thinking someone who's really good at making cakes, a makeup artist or a hairdresser, maybe someone in a band or a musician who could play at the ceremony or the reception. It'll save you some money, and I'm sure they'd absolutely love to be involved if they can help out. Depending on the size of your wedding, you could have loads of roles or you could have just a couple. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you've made sure you've thought about all of the different roles that you might want to fill and who's going to fill them. And then the really fun part, how you're going to ask all those people to be in the wedding. The next category is a really big one, and it is your suppliers. So all of the suppliers that you may need to book for your wedding. I'm talking about your venue, your photographer, your videographer, a florist, a cake maker. Do you want to have your hair and makeup done? Do you want your bridesmaids to have their hair and makeup done? Does your partner want a barber or a hairdresser? Do you need transport for yourself, for your groom? Do you need transport for your guests if they're traveling from one venue to a church, for example? And is there anything extra you want, like a photo booth or an ice cream van? And what entertainment are you looking for? Do you want some live musicians, a DJ, a band, a saxophonist, a pianist, an organist, a harpist, a string quartet? Do you want some singing waiters or a caricaturist, a magician maybe, fire breathers or acrobats? Maybe you want a live artist who will paint your ceremony as it's happening. There are so many options out there now to think about. The next category is everything you need to think about for your ceremony. You need to decide on readings, vows, whether you're writing your own vows or if you're having a religious ceremony, which vow wording you're using. If you need any musicians for your ceremony. If you're having a church wedding, they will offer you the use of a verger, who is someone who will tidy and make sure that everything's in place for your wedding, make sure the heating's on, things like that. If your church has bells, do you want to have the bells rung? And finally, think about your processional and recessional, which is how you enter the church and how you leave. What order do you want your bridesmaids to go in? Do you want them to go before or after you? What are the timings of walking down the aisle to your chosen music? All of these things you'll need to think about for your ceremony. And we're moving swiftly on to a very large category, which is stationery and signage. So there's lots of common parts of your stationery and your signage, starting with your save the dates and your invitations. And then your table plan. Are you going to have a welcome sign? Are you going to have menus on your tables? Are you going to have table numbers? Are you going to have anything extra on your table, such as an I Spy with Polaroid cameras or a Mr. and Mrs. quiz? You're going to need place settings, about additional signs for your guest book or for your wedding favours. Do you want a sign for an unplugged ceremony to tell people not to take pictures? Or do you want any signs around your venue with a hashtag or a QR code for people to share photographs that they've taken of your wedding for you? Do you want a sign for your ceremony that tells people to pick a seat, not a side, and that you're all one family? Do you want any directional signage, maybe something on the gate for when people arrive, something to show them where the different parts of the wedding are happening if they're all in different places in the same location? Do you want to do a wedding website? And if so, how are you going to send the information out about it? Do you want to do any stationery for any guests who are staying in accommodation? For example, any welcome notes to go with welcome baskets. Don't forget about your order of service, which is telling people everything about your ceremony, and your order of the day, which tells them everything that's happening on the day. And finally, don't forget that you're going to want to do thank you notes after the wedding. So if you are ordering matching stationery, don't forget to add those in. And the next category is music. So basically all of the places within your day where you're going to have a specially picked song. The first time you're going to need to pick music is for entering your ceremony. What do you want to walk down the aisle to? This is probably the most exciting song of the day. The second song is also to do with your ceremony, and it is which song you're going to walk out of the ceremony as husband and wife, or wife and wife, or husband and husband. What song would you like to be playing while you're signing the register? What song do you want to have playing if you're having songs throughout your ceremony, or if you're having a church wedding? What hymns would you like to be sung? What song do you want to enter your wedding breakfast to as you're announced as the new Mr. and Mrs.? What is your first dance going to be? Do you want a playlist for the morning when you're getting ready, something to get you in the mood? What songs or musicians would you like for your drinks reception? If you're hiring musicians in like a band or a string quartet, they will give you a set list where you can particularly pick the songs that you would like to be played. Otherwise, you might like to make a playlist which will be played through your venue speakers. And similarly for your reception, are you having live music, a DJ, or are you providing your own playlist to be put on their speakers? And finally, if you're having a wedding film, some videographers give you the choice of picking your own music. So make sure you pick some songs that you're going to want to watch all of your wedding back to, and that it gives you all the feels. And the next category is clothing. So a very exciting one for us brides, starting with, obviously, the wedding dress. Bear in mind that you're going to want to shop for a wedding dress 12 to 18 months before your wedding, depending on if you're looking for a designer or bespoke dress. If you're happy to wear something that is off the rail or second hand, or from somewhere like an outlet that is ready to go, then obviously you can leave it a bit later than that. For the morning of your wedding, do you want matching PJs? Do you want a lovely lace nightie? Do you want slippers that say bride on? Do you want bridal robes? Don't forget that you're going to need to plan special underwear to go under your dress to make sure that there aren't any lines that you don't want to be seen, or anything see-through. A tip that I've heard is that red is a really good colour under white, even better than white to not be seen. What shoes do you want? What accessories? Do you want hair accessories, earrings, necklace, bracelet, any jewellery that you want? Are you going to wear a garter under your dress? Do you want a handbag? And of course, don't forget your shoes. And don't forget the attire for the whole bridal party. So the bridesmaids' dresses, shoes, accessories, any flower girls, any page boys, the best man suit, the usher's suits, the father of the bride and father of the groom suits if you want them to match. You might even want to go so far as to go shopping with the mothers of the bride and groom to help them pick outfits that are in keeping with the colour scheme so that they go with the rest of the bridal party. Do you have any pets that need special outfits? Of course, don't forget the groom's suit and all of his accessories as well. And of course, a really important part of this category are your wedding rings. Do you need an outfit for the day before your wedding? Are you going to change your outfit on the evening? Are you going to have a dress for dancing in and different shoes and accessories to go with that? And don't forget hen do's and engagement parties. You're going to want new outfits for all of these things. And finally, don't forget a honeymoon wardrobe if you're planning one. And the next category is your venue and all of the questions you're going to want to ask them. Do they have a master of ceremonies that they can provide? Do they provide a cake stand, a knife, and will they cut and serve your cake for you? What are their catering and drinks packages if they offer them? If they don't, you'll have to arrange external caterers. Think about the food that you're going to want at your venue. Do you want a traditional wedding breakfast? Do you want a barbecue or more of a buffet? Do you want canapes and a drinks reception? Do you want an evening drinks reception, like a cocktail bar? What do you want your evening food to be? And don't forget that you will have to feed your suppliers, so ask about supplier meals. And finally, does your venue offer any accommodation? Some venues have accommodation that you have to take and book. Some have optional accommodation, or some don't have any. If they don't have any, find out if you need to arrange accommodation close by to your venue for your guests. And now we're moving on to decor. So the first, probably biggest part of your decor is going to be your flowers. If you're going for a florist, do you want fresh flowers or do you want dried or silked flowers? Or are you going to try and DIY? I'm not going to talk about all the different types of flowers that you can have for your weddings. There are a lot, but obviously think about the traditional ones such as your bouquets, your centerpieces, your aisle decoration, your top table decoration, and any extra bits you want around your venue. Do you want any candlesticks, lanterns, fairy lights? Have a look at your venue. Is there anywhere that you think could use additional decor? Do you want to put photo frames around the place of your relationship and time together? Do you want to have a family tree? Do you want to have anything in memorial of family members or friends who are no longer with you? I once went to a wedding where the bride had her mother's wedding dress on a mannequin, which was really beautiful. Do you want balloons? Do you want banners? Do you want Prosecco and personalised glasses for the morning of your wedding when you're getting ready with your bridal party? Do you want rose petals in your room? Do you want that famous Yankee wedding candle to burn on the morning of your wedding while you're getting ready? Do you need table dressing? Do you want tablecloths or do you want table runners instead? Do you want chair covers? Do you want backdrops? Do you want flower walls? There's so much to consider when you're thinking about your venue decor. So the next category is just a collection of everything else you're going to need for your wedding day that doesn't quite fit into the other categories. So a really cute thing that I've seen recently is flags for children walking down the aisle. So you might have a page boy or a flower girl who would like to carry a flag that says, "Here comes the bride," or if it's your own child, "Here comes mummy." You'll need a post box or something for people to give you your cards, a cake topper, favours, an emergency kit for the morning of your wedding. Think sewing things, a steamer, plasters, tampons, just literally anything that you could need on the morning of your wedding. Think about ways to include loved ones who are no longer with us. Do you want a memorial table or a chair dedicated to them at the ceremony? What confetti do you want to use? Do you want sparklers? Do you want smoke bombs? Do you want fireworks? Do you want to use disposable or Polaroid cameras? Do you want a guest book? Do you want kids' party packs for any children attending your wedding to keep them occupied during the wedding breakfast? Do you need to do thank you gifts for your wedding party? Also think about thank you gifts for your suppliers. Supplier tips is a really easily forgotten thing. If you're tipping any of your suppliers cash on the day, allocate this job to your best man. This list could be endless, but I think that is a pretty decent list to work off when thinking about all the different things you're going to need to have at your wedding. The next category is the extra mile. So this is things that you absolutely do not need at your wedding, but if you really want to go that extra mile, you could include. I'm thinking things like personalised dress hangers for your bridesmaids, tissues for your guests at the ceremony, a welcome hamper for your guests if they're staying at the venue with you, bathroom kits, those really cute hampers that people fill with things like deodorant and mints and sanitary products. Do you want to do flip-flops for people's sore dancing feet? If you have an outdoor area, do you want to provide blankets for if it gets chilly? Do you want to do a midnight snack doggy bag for your guests to take home with them? And finally, do you want to do personalised door hangers for any guests staying on site? Everything in this category is definitely extra and it absolutely is not needed to make your wedding special. But some people like to do absolutely everything for their wedding, so there are just a few other finishing touches if you really do want to go that extra mile. Our second to last category is everything that you need to think about on the lead up to your wedding. Plan your timeline for the day and make sure your suppliers have a copy of it, as well as key contacts such as your maid of honour, your best man, for all of your suppliers on the day. Schedule any beauty appointments that you need, whether that's hair, facials, massages, nail appointments, tanning, waxing, anything that you're going to want to make you feel your best on your wedding day. Remember to give notice to marry. This is a really important one. And if you're getting married in a church, you'll have to arrange to have your bands red. You might want to get your ring cleaned so that it's super sparkly on the day. If you're having a church wedding, you should be able to schedule a rehearsal where you'll practice the whole ceremony. Make sure that all of your wedding party know about this and are free to come along. Do you want to have a rehearsal dinner or a pre-wedding party? Maybe you're having a venue that allows you to arrive the night before, which is becoming increasingly common. And how do you want to spend that evening with your guests? Of course, no one's going to forget the hen and stag do's. That probably won't fall to you to organise. Just make sure that your maid of honour or your bridesmaids or best man know who they want to invite and the general things of what you would like to do, because they won't want to plan something that you're really not going to enjoy. Don't forget to plan your honeymoon. In all of the wedding planning madness, sometimes it can be easy to forget anything that comes after the wedding. But if you are planning to go on a honeymoon, make sure you start looking in a decent amount of time so that you can book the flights and hotel for where you want to go. If you want to make sure that you're going to nail those key moments when you know all eyes are on you, you might want to practice things like your first dance or your first kiss. If there are key moments that you really want your photographer to get that are really, really important to you, make sure you write them a key shot list. Of course, they're going to capture all of the main events, but something might be really important to you. Also give them a list of everyone you want to be included in your portrait shots. Make sure that you pay any outstanding balances to your supplier. Most suppliers will want to be fully paid before they attend your wedding. Don't forget to pack for your wedding if it's happening away from home. And finally, don't forget any deliveries. If you've arranged with suppliers to drop things off at your venue in advance, make sure you have a plan for receiving and putting those things out. And the very final list is what you will need to do after your wedding. Don't forget to write thank yous to everyone who attended. Don't forget to collect your marriage certificate. If you're changing your name, you will need to get started on all of that paperwork. And finally, if you do already have children, you will need to re-register them after you've got married. And that is absolutely everything in my ultimate wedding planning checklist. I really hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and I hope that it's been super helpful in making a start on your own wedding planning. If you have enjoyed this, please do like the video and subscribe if you want to follow my wedding planning journey. I really hope that I haven't forgotten anything, but if I have, or if there's anything that you did in your wedding that I haven't mentioned, please do put it in the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I'm sure others would too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.